What's up, vapors? Thanks for checking out Daily Vape TV. My name is Nick, and it's Fresh Build Friday. That's right, it's that time of the week again where we get you ready for the weekend with a brand new coil build. Now, this build has been featured on this channel many times. However, the device is really the star of the show for this build video. Today, we're going to be building on this AzeRoth RDTA by CoilArt. They're the ones that sent me this for the purpose of doing these videos, so I decided I'm going to try my hand at building on this thing. I know the RDTA format is a big thing right now, so I'm going to kind of capitalize on that and build it for you guys today. So with that being said, go ahead, grab your mod, your wick, your wire, your addy, your tools, all that good stuff. Let's dive down to the close-up view and build it up. Alright guys, so as you can see here, we have our 26 gauge Mad Rabbit Nichrome 80 wire, as well as some 36 gauge Nichrome 80 by Mad Rabbit on the Jig Rig V2 by Vaped3D.com. I'm just going to speed this whole process up just to save a little bit of time here, but if you don't know how to make fused Clapton wire, then click on my hand here to do it with the Vaped3D jig, or this one here to see it done by hand. There you go, I'm just going to speed the rest of this up. So there we go, we have a nice piece of fused Clapton wire. Let's go ahead and make some coils. So today we're going to be using a 3mm bit on the jig here, and we're just going to do our normal thing. We're just going to insert the wire just like that. Then we're going to do 7 wraps, because I really love the way 7 wraps comes out. I feel like it has great flavor, great vapor production, and you don't have to use, you know, a super high wattage. So that's what we're going to do today. Let's see, that's 3, 4... 5, 6, and 7. Wrap that all the way around so it comes right back at you there. It's going to take it off, put it back on, squish it up a little bit, and there we go. So that's one coil down. Let's just go ahead and repeat that process. And just like magic, we have 2 really nice fused Clapton coils. Let's go ahead and get these bad boys installed. Alright, so as you can see, we brought in our AzeRoth RDTA, and very similarly to the Goon, it has that clamp style design where these little bars go up and down. But done a little bit cheaper, I think. But regardless, let's go ahead and get this install started here. So just do it just like on the Goon. So just kind of weasel your way in through the posts. You can also take these clamps off if you really wanted to. However, I find that it's a little bit more difficult wrangling all that wire together, but you just want to make sure it's good and loose so you can get that wire through there just like that. And repeat for the other side here. This one, the leads are a little bit longer, so that might be a little bit easier. Honestly, with this one here, it looks like you have a lot of room. However, I feel like it's not that much room. I feel like the Goon has a lot more. It just kind of makes you think you have a lot more because of the way the posts are designed. However, yeah, I feel like it's still kind of small. Also, the screw heads on this thing leave something to be desired as far as quality is concerned. It's not too bad, but you know, it's not too good as well. And just squishing your coils in there like so. And I mean, it looks really ugly right now, but it'll look really good in a few minutes here. So let's just make sure we get those really close to the posts. Everything's looking good. So now it's time to clamp everything down. We take our Phillips screwdriver and just do a few turns at a time on all sides here, just to make sure you're doing it nice and evenly. And make sure nothing moves around on you there. So just kind of clamp and clamp and clamp. Yeah, these screw heads, not the best I've ever seen. Definitely feel like I'm going to end up stripping these in the very near future. And to really get them good and snug, I feel like you're going to want to probably just take your pliers and just give them a good snug there, because you're probably not going to get good and snug without it. I hate to say that. And CoilArt, if you're watching this, maybe improve the screw heads on this thing, because I feel like a lot of people might get pissed off at this design when their screws wear out. So now it's cleanup time, so just kind of trim off the excess. Be very careful, you don't want to trim off the other coil, so just gently get in there. Hopefully you have good sharp snips. These are starting to dull down a little bit, so almost might be time to hit the old Amazon and get some of those good $7 cheapo kind of snips that I always get. But they always work really good for me for like a year, so good old Amazon, gotta love it. Now I noticed one trick to get these coils good and centered, if they're not already centered, is just by taking the little bit piece off of your actual coil jig and just kind of nudging it over this way. And that generally helps it along a little bit. Definitely helps with a little bit of heat on these coils, but we're not quite at that step yet. So just get them nice and even and organized as best as you can, and then just work with them until everything just neatens up. So there we go. Let's go ahead and give these coils a little bit of heat. I'm going to start them off at 34 watts. That's just what my mod was at, so that's what we're going to start them off with. And just gently pulsing them just to get a little bit of heat going on these things. You really don't want to get too crazy with it. Just kind of making sure there's no hot spots or anything like that. And nudging them up a little bit. Because when you're working with them a lot, they tend to get a little bit of a space to them, and that way you just want to pinch them up and making sure they're staying good and tight. There we go. So you're starting to see that color come out. Not quite as even as I would like, but you know what? It's pretty good. I love the color that you get with Mad Rabbit wire. I'm not sure why, but it just definitely colors up a lot more than any other wire that I've ever tried. So there we go, just kind of brushing across, creating those carbon layers in there, in between the coils. Just brush across, just like that. And once it starts heating up nice and evenly, then we should be good to go. Alright, so I'm firing it right now at 90 watts. There you go, you can see 90 watts coming in at 0.2 ohms, exactly what I was expecting it to come in at. I love this build so much because it's consistent. I know exactly what to expect out of it, and it's just very hard hitting, and it's just a great build. You know, it's fun to learn with and everything like that. I feel like it's kind of the baseline standard for builds nowadays. Alright, so let's let these coils cool down a little bit, and then we're going to wick it. So I've got my native Wicks cotton right here. That's what we're going to be using today for this build. And we're going to just basically kind of leave it a little bit extra long. I like to think that you don't have to have your wicks dangling all the way down into that tank, but just a little bit dangling into the tank should do it just fine. Alright guys, we are all juiced up and ready to go here. Let's see how she vapes. Beautiful. Sweet. Let's go back to the main screen, have a quick vape on this thing, and we'll talk about it some more. Alright guys, we've reached the portion of this video where we talk about the coils that we just built. Now, I've done this build many times on numerous different devices, and yet it still remains one of my favorite builds out there. So that's kind of why I chose this as a baseline to test this AzeRoth RDTA, because I want to know the difference between this device and, let's say, a dripper or a different kind of tank like the Mage that the CoilArt also puts out. So that's kind of why I chose this build for this specific device. With that being said, let's get to my first category, which is the heat. The heat on this build is nice and average, I'd say. It's a good warm build. I actually ended up bumping this thing up to 100 watts. The final resistance came out to 0.22 ohms, and I'm vaping it at 4.7 volts, which is a little bit on the high side. I usually rock this about 90 or so watts, depending on what it's on. On a dripper, I can usually get away with a slightly higher wattage, but on the Mage, I can definitely vape it about 90 watts max. With that being said, the heat is nice, it's warm, it's, you know, a good average kind of heat to it. I'm rocking it wide open on the AzeRoth, and I get a good amount of airflow with it here. So I really like the airflow on this thing. The airflow is nice and wide open. I can see light all the way through it, which means I did my job correctly. One little thing that you might want to look out for was when it comes to building this thing that I didn't mention in the close-ups is make sure you cut the wick tail on the side that the fill hole is at. Cut those a little bit shorter. That's going to help you out a lot because I feel like that kind of blocks off the fill hole a little bit, so it just makes it a little bit harder to fill. With that being said, let's move on to our second category, which is the ramp up and ramp down time. Now, I'm just gonna real quick take a pull off of this thing and we'll check out the ramp down time. So with both the ramp up and the ramp down time, it's a little bit longer than I'm used to. I'm getting about a 2-second ramp up time and about a 3 to 4 second ramp down time. I'm not sure exactly why that's the case, especially vaping it at 100 watts. I feel like the ramp up time should be a little bit quicker than that. However, maybe it's just the fact that I'm used to this build on a dripper where I get a lot faster ramp up time. The Mage seems to ramp up a lot faster, but I can attribute that to the really kind of closed off chamber. It's a very small chamber on the Mage. This one here is as wide open as a dripper. So I don't know, maybe that's just something that's you know, I'm a little bit confused on, but not really sure why I get the extra ramp up time. I can definitely see the ramp down time because after a 4 to 5 second drag, you're getting those coils a little bit dried out. So one thing also to note about this one is make sure you take your time with it. Don't chain vape with it, because if you're chain vaping with this thing, you're going to dry those coils out almost instantly. I tried my best to do the wicking as good as I could, but you know what, I'm still getting, you know, I can't vape it one hit right after the other. Moving on to our third category, which is the difficulty of this build. Honestly, this is one of the easiest builds I've ever done. You just kind of open up those clamps, throw the coils in there, clamp them down, and then trim off the wire. It's pretty simple. I feel like if you can master the Clapton coil and the fused Clapton coil, you'll have no problem building on this thing whatsoever, especially if you already own a goon. Like I mentioned in the close-ups, it's a little bit tighter than the goon as far as the positioning of the coils goes. However, once you get them in there, they're going to be rock solid for you. And my final category, the one you've all been waiting for, is the flavor on this build. Now, I am vaping some of the original Taco Mang from Savior Vape. Thanks, Lonnie and Merriweather. Really appreciate the care package. This is a Choco Taco Vape. Yes, you heard right, a Choco Taco Vape. And I've never been one for a chocolate vape. However, this one just seems to do it for me. I'm not sure what exactly it is. Maybe it's a combination of the milk chocolate or the like slight waffle cone notes in there, or maybe it's the vanilla ice cream, but this one is just like a Choco Taco with all the fixins. I'm really enjoying it. The flavor is outstanding on this build, just like I'm used to. Honestly, I'm going to say it 1,000 times with these videos here, but the fused Clapton coil, especially in this configuration like I got it here, is probably the best vape you're ever going to get. I mean, I know I've tried the alien coils, I've tried staple coils, I've tried all these different fancy wire builds, and I still get the best flavor out of fused Claptons. Maybe that's why I keep doing it for these videos. But anyways, guys, that about does it for this week's video. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe for more videos just like this. Of course, leave me comments in the box below of what you think of this build video, whether or not you want to try it out for yourself, or anything else that you want to talk about down there. I'd love to discuss it with you guys. Honestly, I rely heavily on your feedback and what you want to see on this channel. So if you have any coil suggestions, just drop them down there and I'll try to get to them as soon as I possibly can. So don't forget to check out the advocacy links down there in the description. I have them there for you so you can fight for your right to vape. Stand up and fight against the FDA's unfair regulations. Now is the time to do it. Also, check me out on all my different social medias. I have Twitter and Instagram. Make sure you follow me on there. Like my page on Facebook. Check out my Snapchat. And if you want to give me a couple of bucks on Patreon, that would be awesome as well. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. You guys are the best. And as always, vape on!